108th running of the Indianapolis 500 got underway later than usual after a 4-hour rain delay hampered proceedings. Callum Ilott pulled into the pits on the parade lap with an issue with his weight jacker. He would get back out, but he would have to start at the back in 33rd. We would go green, finally, at 4:45 p.m. local time, with Scott McLaughlin leading a historic all-Penske front row. The front three stayed the same into turn 1 as Santino Ferrucci got past Alexander Rossi and Kyle Larson. The field didn't even make it one corner before the first wreck. Tom Blomqvist clipped the grass on the inside of turn 1, spun back into the field, in the process collecting Pietro Fittipaldi and 2022 race winner Marcus Ericsson. 3 cars would be out of the running before the first lap was even completed. 2022 winner Ericsson wouldn't even make it a full lap in the race after riding off his primary car in practice and having to bump his way into the field during the last row shootout. Ericsson's left front tire had gone over Blomqvist's nose cone and was only kept from entering the 66's cockpit by the aero screen, a very, very close call. During the subsequent caution laps, Marcus Armstrong pulled onto the pit lane with an engine problem. It was the Ganassi driver's second engine failure of the month after blowing up another motor during practice for the Indy Grand Prix. The green flag came back out on lap 9. Kyle Larson bottled the restart and got dropped from 6th to 14th as the field went 6 wide and nearly sent Ed Carpenter into the end of the pit wall. On the backstretch, Kyle Kirkwood swung to the inside and clipped the grass trying to pass Takuma Sato, and Colton Herta swung around the outside of Alex Palou. Early on in the running, drivers were making moves that made it look like we were only racing to lap 101, but that would not be the case. On lap 22, Catherine Legg's Dale Point entry went up in smoke in turn 3, bringing out the caution. This was the second Honda engine failure in the first stint of the race, and the 5th of the month. Out of the 5 cars that had DNF'd by lap 22, all of them were powered by Honda. The green flag came back out on lap 27 with Stingray Robb, Connor Daly, Christian Lundgaard, and Graham Rahal at the front of the pack. Daly had taken off from the pack off of turn 2, leaving Robb to fend for himself. The next lap, rookie Linus Lundqvist got run up high in turn 1 and smacked the wall, ending the day early for the American Legion Honda. The restart on lap 33 had pole sitter McLaughlin lead from Santino Ferrucci with Daly and Robb in tow. They were 4 wide in the middle of the pack with Colton Herta holding off attacks from Palou, O'Ward, and Rosenqvist. Another caution would come on lap 56. Felix Rosenqvist's engine let go in the south short chute, the 3rd Honda engine failure in the opening third of the race. During the pit cycle, Rinus VeeKay was sent out into the path of Augustine Canapino, landing him a drive-through penalty. On the same pit cycle, for some reason, Alex Palou attempted to swerve into the side of Joseph Newgarden. The green flag finally came back out on lap 64 with Daly and Robb leading, but that wouldn't last long as McLaughlin threaded the gap between Daly and the pit wall to take the lead back. On lap 66, Robb took the lead back and started to stretch out a gap. But on lap 86, another contender was eliminated. Colton Herta spun in turn 1 and hit the wall in the short chute. There wasn't much damage to the car, but Herta exited the car, and the Gainbridge Honda was towed back to the garage. During the pit stops, Callum Ilott failed to merge correctly and was punted through his pit box by Kyle Kirkwood, causing Ed Carpenter to be unable to pull into his pit stall. Kirkwood was handed a penalty, and IndyCar failed to notice that Ilott didn't merge correctly. The green flag flew again on lap 91 with Rinus VeeKay out front from Lundgaard, Robb, and Daly. Lundgaard swept around the outside to take the lead into turn 1. On lap 93, Herta's car had been fully repaired and was ready to return to the track. Pato O'Ward had a spectacular save at the halfway point, catching the car twice as he slid through turn 2. Lundgaard would pit from the lead at the end of lap 100, handing the lead to Joseph Newgarden. The next caution would come on lap 107 when Ryan Hunter-Reay and Scott Dixon made contact on the backstretch. Hunter-Reay went spinning through the grass, dug into the dirt, and damaged his steering rack. He retired from the race after returning to his pit stall. The green flag came back out on lap 113 with the Penske teammates in front of Ferrucci. The field once again did not even make it through the first corner as Marco Andretti got high and lost it in turn 1 before backing it into the wall. At this point in the race, 3 of the 4 Andretti Global Hondas had been eliminated from contention. On lap 118, they tried again, with McLaughlin jumping ahead at the green. Rossi made his move on Newgarden into turn 1 the next lap. Newgarden pitted on lap 131 for his penultimate stop. He was in and out of his stall in 6.7 seconds. Race leader McLaughlin came in 1 lap later. Kyle Larson came in way too hot behind him, flew past the pit speed line, and was awarded a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. ruining an almost certain top 10 run for the Hendrick Cars Chevy. On lap 135, Newgarden got stuck behind a group of cars and went around the outside of Rasmussen and Ferrucci in turn 3, and Alex Palou was able to pass Rossi and McLaughlin for the effective race lead. On lap 147, the caution would come out for what would end up being the final time as Will Power smacked the wall in turn 1, ending the day for the 2018 500 winner. It was a 3-wide restart on lap 155 as Rossi rounded up O'Ward and Scott Dixon to take the lead into turn 1. Further back, Newgarden passed Daly, VK, and Palou on the outside through turn 1. Further back, Takuma Sato got pushed up into the high line, but kept it off the wall, and everyone made it through 1 and 2 safely. O'Ward and Rossi would start to swap the lead between each other on lap 196, and would continue to do so until the McLaren teammates pitted for the final time. At that point, Rossi took the lead back from Newgarden on lap 174, as O'Ward and Dixon, who were nearly a lap ahead, made their final stops. The top 4 merged back together in the same pack. Newgarden flew past Dixon on the front stretch on lap 165 to take the effective lead. Pato O'Ward was still on the move and had gotten himself in second with 3 laps left to run. O'Ward had caught Newgarden with just 2 laps to go but had run out of time on the front straightaway. The Ninja was just barely able to keep his car within his control as he chased the Penske again out of turn 2. He had a run going into turn 3 but decided to back off, leaving turns 1 and 3 on the final lap as his only other options. As the white flag came out, the two were side by side and O'Ward took the lead into turn 1. But this did mean Newgarden would have one more shot. They came off of turn 2 with O'Ward still ahead, weaving down the backstretch to try and break the draft. But Newgarden had held back and had a monster run into turn 3. The champ swung by and was ahead by the middle of the corner. He then drove away unopposed to become the first back-to-back 500 winner in 22 years, handing Roger Penske a further extension of his record and his 20th Indy 500 win. With one of the most exciting races in 500 history in the record books, let's see where everyone ended up. Newgarden finished ahead of O'Ward by just 0.3 of a second. Scott Dixon passed Rossi on the final straightaway to take 3rd place. The rest of the top 10 were Palou, who takes the championship lead going into Detroit. Pole sitter McLaughlin ended up 6th. Kyle Kirkwood was the only Andretti car remaining, and Santino Ferrucci continued his impressive top 10 streak by finishing 8th. Rinus VeeKay had a quiet but solid day, finishing 9th, and Connor Daly is the winner of the Biggest Mover award by starting 29th and finishing 10th. Callum Ilott had an up-and-down day after his weight jacker failed during the parade laps and he was punted by Kirkwood in the pit lane. Christian Rasmussen was the highest finishing rookie, and Christian Lundgaard finished right behind his Danish comrade in 13th. Takuma Sato finished behind his RLL teammate in 14th. Graham Rahal had a solid but clean run after starting 33rd. He ends the day in 15th place. Stingray Robb led the 3rd most laps in the race, but his strategy did not materialize, and the 41 Chevy took the checkered flag in 16th. Ed Carpenter finished 17th. Kyle Larson had a certain top 10 run taken away by a speeding penalty. He ends up 18th. Elio Castroneves and Kyffin Simpson were the last 2 cars on the lead lap, and Augustine Canapino was the last car running 1 lap back. Colton Herta retired in 23rd after briefly rejoining the race 17 laps down. Will Power crashed in turn 1, same with Marco Andretti. Ryan Hunter-Reay broke his steering rack after contact with Scott Dixon. Rosenqvist's engine went pop on lap 56. Linus Lundqvist sent it in too hard into turn 1 on lap 28. And the bottom 5 are Catherine Legg, whose engine expired on lap 22, Marcus Armstrong, whose engine went pop on lap 4, and the bottom 3, Tom Blomqvist, Pietro Fittipaldi, and Marcus Ericsson, were all involved in the first corner crash. Those were your highlights of the 108th Indianapolis 500. Congrats to Joseph Newgarden for becoming the first back-to-back winner since Elio Castroneves 22 years ago. The IndyCar Series is in Detroit this weekend for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Watch Sunday at 12:30 Eastern on USA and subscribe for the highlights here on TWIR. Until next time, have a good one.